Welcome back. It's another day of working on the tractor, and hopefully I can get more of these sleeves installed. Hopefully the ideal goal here would be to get all 4 of them installed, because that's what we have left. We got 2 in, got the rest of these to install. And if you can tell my voice sounds crappy, it's because I am sick again. So I'm sorry if I at some point sound terrible compared to others, but we're gonna try and get as much done with this as possible that we can and continue to move forward. And then we have to obviously do everything with the head, but for right now, I want to try and focus on getting all this stuff done with the cylinders and get the sleeves in, because ultimately can't do anything without that. We're kind of in the home stretch at this point. We got 4 done, 2 down. Now, the stampings in the block here, if you can see, there's A, then it goes B, and then there's 2 C's. So to my understanding, that is the different bore sizes, because these aren't identical. In theory, they really should be, but, you know, machines and everything, and they're, you know, it's not to the point where it's, you know, completely different bore sizes, but as far as like maybe thousandths of an inch or something like that, I mean, it's within spec that these sleeves are still going to go in and they're still going to have the same fit, same pistons, all that. It's just the machining and everything could be different down the line for all 6. So once we got to, you know, obviously the C's, they went in fine. The B, not too bad. Then we got to this A. This was a lot tighter to get in. Now it still went in and everything, but I could definitely tell there was more tension on the puller, or the sleeve puller, sleeve press, whatever you want to call it. So I imagine we're going to run into that on these 2 sleeves as well. But for right now, we got 2 in, so that's not too bad. It's about 6:30 right now, so I'm going to take a break on this. This is really starting to look good though. Top of the block is cleaning up really nice. It's looking good. I'm liking it. I'm happy with it so far. Well, I can finally say I'm glad that's done. All 6 sleeves are in, and I'm very happy about that, because this was definitely a process. The last one actually went in really easy with the sleeve puller, and I had to, obviously you guys know I have to hammer it in so far until this will reach, and I did that in like, you know, 30 seconds. So probably these 2 were the hardest, and then probably these 4 were better. So definitely stoked about that. That means we're finally starting to get somewhere with this, which is a huge plus, because as I've said before, and I'm going to say it again, we're running out of time, but we're going to keep chugging along with this. But loving the way this is going so far and how it's turning out. Hopefully it keeps going that way. Now we're going to move on to installing our new pistons. And if you're doing this, these all have a mark on the rod. So as you can see right there, there's a number 1 and also a number 1. So they match, and then it's lock to lock is how I refer to it. You can see they're only going to go on there one way. But that 1 indicates cylinder number 1, and it goes all the way through, you know, 1 through 6, obviously. And you have to take, you know, note, and the new pistons, they do say the direction. So this one was scored really bad. You can see that. This was our cylinder 1 piston, which we only had 50 pounds of compression on, and the ring was broke, so definitely a big problem there. We got new rod bearings. So we're gonna start by just taking this apart, and then we'll pull this out and we'll have to check our bushing for where our wrist pin goes. So we'll put this in the vise. So we know our step head was this way, so away from the crank. So we gotta pop these clips out, then we can pop our pin. There's the old piston off. So I'm hoping that these pin bushings are actually good and I don't have to press new ones in there. I'm guessing just by the way that this pin came out, which is tight in the piston itself, so that's some of it, but judging by the bearings and everything else in the tractor, I'm guessing it's gonna be okay, but we'll check it with the new pin. So here's the new piston, and there you can see, as I was saying, there's an arrow and it says front, so our steps would be away from the cam. And I don't know if I said crank earlier, but it's the cam. So we gotta pop the retainer. Do that on both sides. And then push the pin out. We'll just slide that in there. And there is no slop in that whatsoever, so I think the bushings are gonna be good. So basically all you gotta remember, at least in this instance, is the step of the piston goes away from the cam. The number on the rod goes towards the cam. Otherwise, it's really not that complicated. So there's the rod bearing. And again, these are standard size. And I measured everything on the crank too. Everything's good there, so it will continue to take standard. So there is cylinder number 1 piston assembly with a new bearing in the bottom there. And at this point, this is ready to drop in. Now I will need a piston ring compressor, which I do have. So remembering here that it goes this way, as the arrow there indicates. The rings are oiled. I tried to oil them up really well. So the tractor, when I initially start it, this thing's gonna smoke pretty good, but I'm more concerned with it starting dry than I really am worried about it smoking, because it'll clear up. So we definitely don't want to put it together dry, because then you're asking for an engine to seize instantly, basically, is what it comes down to. The other thing you gotta make sure of is that all the oil rings, or I should say all the rings in general, are gapped differently. Set that down. There we go. And since I have the crank rotated all the way down with the journal all the way down as far as it'll go, so we won't hit it with the rod, I'm gonna do cylinder number 6 because that one is all the way down currently right now too, so it just makes sense. And we'll oil everything up here. I'm gonna have to take a whole day and just do shop cleanup. All the tools are covered in oil. It's a great time. There we go. Cylinder 3 and 4 is what we're going to move on to now. Both the journals are all the way down. We're cruising right along here. So now we only have 2 cylinders to do. However, these still need tied into the crank. Cylinder 1 and cylinder 6. So cylinder 1, cylinder 6. Those I got tied in and they are torqued down to their proper specs. So I got to push these down so they contact the journals, torque these, and then we can do cylinder 2 and cylinder 5. That looks so nice, having new pistons in there. Now, it may look a little weird, but cylinder 2 and cylinder 5 are not connected to the crank yet, so it's kind of why they're all up towards the top. But regardless, I got to do that yet, torque them down, and then we're pretty much done. We can probably button up the bottom end as well and throw the oil pan on there, but I do have to clean that up quite a bit before we do anything. So I got to get these pushed all the way down to the crank, torque them down, and then this part should be done. So what that means is then we can continue to move forward, probably working towards the head, replace the valves, and clean all that up. So that's gonna do it for today's video. I hope you guys are enjoying the series. I hope you enjoyed the video. And you know, maybe this will help you rebuild your tractor if you need to. Anyway, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 1,000, and I'll see you next time.